Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, where, as always, we believe that high net worth individuals and their professional teams struggle to find great capital gains tax deferral options, and not having a clear plan is the enemy. Using a proven tax deferral strategy, such as the Deferred Sales Trust, is the best way to exit highly appreciated assets so you could create, preserve, and grow your wealth. I'm your co-host, Pearson York, filling in for Brett Swarts. I'm super excited about our next guest. He's been in the VA space for a few years now, and they have expanded into a bunch of different countries. So we're going to get right into it. Please help me welcome to the show, Rob Buffington. Rob, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Awesome, Rob. So tell us just real quick, one minute, how'd you get to where you are?
I see problems, I try to solve them, and then I try to help others solve them. I come from the real estate space myself, actually. I started buying rentals after the crash, got into property management, third-party property management, then building services, then staffing, then accounting, and then consulting, and then it just kept growing. And I just find things that are broken and try to fix them.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us, what's the number one secret to hiring VAs to solve problems?
Well, not to nitpick, we actually call our people remote team members because VAs kind of has that call center connotation, and that's absolutely not what we do. We
Sure.
like them to feel like they're part of the team. They come to training events. They work for the company. They're a part of the company. I'll be at my Guadalajara and Mexico City office in a few days, actually.
Right on.
Um, in terms of the most effective practices, I think the biggest thing is knowing exactly what you need. We have so many people that come to us and just like, I need help, I need help, I need help. Okay, that's great. Let's dive in. What does that look like? Well, I'm overwhelmed with this. It's like, okay, so how is this person going to help you with that? Too many people, they know they're drowning and they think they can throw somebody in and it'll magically get better. You need to have steps in place for here's what they're going to do, here's how they're going to get the information, here's how I'm going to train them, here's how I'm going to communicate. And that's part of what we do through Gordian Consulting, Gordian Staffing, etc. Is we help people manage expectations and we help people bridge the cultural gaps that occur between the US and Mexico and the US and Philippines.
Interesting. Okay, so how would you maximize your remote workers?
In terms of getting the most efficiency out of them,
Yeah, just in terms of like them being the perfect solution to your problem. How do you what's the secret to maximizing their performance?
clear and ongoing communication. You have to be communicating on a regular basis. One of the number one complaints we hear from staff is, I haven't heard from this person in 3 days. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, stuff like that.
Sure.
Um, Definitely making them feel included. You have to be ready to put the time in up front. Too many people, they call because they're drowning and they don't have the time to train somebody. And God knows I've been there, but you have to remember that it's going to take more time up front. So make sure you have budgeted that time the first few days and then be crystal clear about your expectations. It can't just be, I want you to help with phone calls. It's, you're going to be answering 70 to 100 phone calls a day. I need a missed call percentage of less than 3%. Here are the things that you can answer. And then here are the things I'd like transferred to these people in the company. So the more clear and the more direct you can be, the more things will be successful.
Yeah, okay. So clear, concise instructions, clear goals, and constant communication
hmm
are
And
the
I
key.
would, yeah, and I would even add, be confrontational. Don't be afraid to talk about issues because, like right now, you and I, we're talking. We're in this little box. I
Right.
have no idea what your body language is. I don't know if there's a dog running around. I don't know what's going on. So I have like 10% of the available cues that
Sure.
we would have face to face. So to change that, you have to be willing to say, what questions do you have for me? How are you doing? Do you and then same thing on the employee side, they can't be embarrassed to say, I didn't understand, I need you to tell me again, or I have this question, things like that. Too often we kind of expect people to be psychic and just kind of know what's going on, and we have to get more confrontational to work remotely.
You mentioned that the one of the big mistakes that an employer makes is not putting the time in up front to
Mhm.
get them to be doing the thing. What's the second biggest mistake that operators are making when they're hiring these remote workers?
Besides not using us?
Yeah,
I would say
that's a good
not
one.
keeping not keeping track of the training. A lot of companies, particularly as they grow, they become very inconsistent with each person doing it their own way. I'm a big believer in if you do something more than twice a month, you should have an instruction manual for it. And that doesn't need to be some fancy thing. It can be a Word document, it can be a Loom video. I love Loom. It's a little browser extension you plug
Sure.
in, and it'll record your screen and you talk while you're doing it. So, for example, I recently handed over payroll, and what I did was because hundreds of employees, and what I did was, hey, this is how I do payroll for our US entities. I'm just going to go through it. Here's where you get this. And it added maybe 30 seconds to what's a 10-minute task. And now, anytime going forward, if I have to change the person who does it, there's an existing training platform, training record of what's supposed to be done, how it works. And so you can standardize from that because everybody's a little bit different, but you have to know how you want it done.
So it goes back to the understanding yourself and understanding the goals and objectives of the company so that you can have clear, concise objectives for the remote employee as well as clear communication on how you want things done.
Yeah, because if you don't know, if all you know is that there's a problem and you want it fixed, the odds of somebody being able to solve it are minuscule. You might get lucky and find somebody that's just a go-getter and will figure it out. But most people need to be told, okay, I want you to send this email here. I need you to look up this data here and show them a couple times. After that, they'll be off and running and they can use their own initiative. But they need to know where the boundaries are. They need to know who's in charge of it. They need a lot more information than we give them. And I speak from personal experience. I no longer train new employees because I'm exactly like I'm talking about. So I have some great team members that help me with training because I'm horrible at it personally.
One of the things that you mentioned that I thought was interesting is when you said people who are drowning,
Mm,
right, are the ones who are reaching out to you. And then they don't have the time because they're drowning in
mhm.
order to, train the person properly to solve the problem. So it sounds like you have to have some foresight as an operator or as an employer to say, hey, our business is going in this direction. We're going to need this eventually. Maybe now's a good time when we have, as we're building, to get that person on and to start going through this process so that we don't actually get to that point of drowning.
Yeah, the most successful people are the ones that we meet with quarterly and they say we're going to need 5 customer service reps, 2 staff accountants. Here's when we need them to be live, so we need them to start 2 weeks ahead of time for training. So and they have a very good year-long plan, which of course things change, you can adapt. But yeah, if you wait until things are already on fire, you're going to have a much harder time. And nights, weekends, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business owner, an investor, you're not afraid of hard work. Just be realistic about what it's going to take.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. So uh your business then, Gordian, right,
Hmm.
has multiple aspects. I'd say silos, divisions, departments, whatever, right?
Right.
That help with a variety of different things within the entire business ecosystem. How did you go from, okay, we're staffing to accounting to um, you know, problem solving, all these other divisions that you have in your company?
As with anything, I saw a problem, I saw people having difficulty, and I wanted to fix it. So I had my own companies, in property management and building services. I hired remote staff internally, so I was my own first customer. And then I was doing some consulting with some friends, and they said, "Hey, that sounds really cool. Can you help me do it?" So we got to staffing. And then we do full time staffing. They work exclusively for the client on an ongoing basis. And so then we had people who said, hey, I don't need a full-time accountant. I need somebody part-time. Do you do that? And eventually we said, yeah, okay, we can do that. So now we do fractional, or we do departmental accounting where we just act as your entire accounting department. We already had the consulting, which sprung up from people who maybe they're not great at developing policies and procedures. So we help them go one by one and develop that. And then shared services came about in the same way. Hey, I need somebody for 10 hours a week to do data entry or to do research or this kind of thing. And so we launched that recently. And then we only just in the last couple of months launched Gordian Business Solutions to be an overarching brand.
Gotcha. So within there, you have accounting. So one of the objections that I think would come up, and maybe I'm wrong, but would be like, okay, I mean, we got this remote worker in Mexico who doesn't know the laws
Mhm.
in America. How do you, as a company, basically like recruit those people, make sure they're qualified, train them up so that they're good to go?
Sure. Everybody we hire has 2 to 5 years experience with US GAAP accounting. Major US companies base their accounting down there. HPE, Coca-Cola, Nissan, Cinetech, the big four all have offices down there. So US GAAP accounting is a very common course of study. And then we pay really well and we have good benefits and we treat our people well in the long term. So we've become a very attractive place to work. And then we give them a crash course on whatever industry they're working on. Not full training. People, the clients need to be prepared for that, but we like to get them used to, hey, real estate HOAs, this is how it works, this is who the parties are. And then we use our people from Gordian Financial to do the technical interviews on staff accountants and controllers and things like that to make sure they're qualified.
Sure. Okay. So what are the biggest objections that you think that you received that if people knew, the answers would really help to educate them on why those maybe aren't such a big deal?
Data security is certainly a question we get a lot. And the truth of it is, we're more secure than most of our clients. We have them work exclusively on company devices. We have security software that allows us to put a geo fence on it. We can remote lock or wipe the computer if necessary. We help clients if they want to set up VPNs or a remote desktop that they can work on and access through our machines. So in the end, we end up being a lot more secure than most of our clients. Being able to understand people have this very incorrect assumption of the type of people they're getting. They think that it's inferior quality people for an inferior price, and that's not it at all. Most of the people we hire, I would put them up against any employee you're going to hire domestically. They just live somewhere cheaper, and so as a result, the cost is cheaper. But the way that they live on what their standard of living is much better than domestic people making what they're making most of the time. So that's something really important we like to convey to people. We're not trying to be the cheapest solution. We're trying to be the best, because we believe that if you recruit and keep the best people, you'll save a lot more money than churning and burning every 6 months and saving a dollar.
Sure. So as far as like pricing is concerned, with you guys, how does the actual company make money, and then um how does like the employer benefit?
So cost savings is definitely a big component. Ironically, I don't consider us a cost saving company. I consider us a superior staffing company. Like I said, we think our people are as good or better as the ones people hire domestic. But on average, people do save between 40 to 60% of their staffing costs by going with us.
Well,
Accounting is a much broader topic depending on the complexity, but you can expect to
sure.
see equal savings there. Our fees are built into our hourly rate because they're citizens of Mexico or the Philippines. We have entities there that we handle all the payroll filings, the health insurance, the benefits, all of that. We just take the cost of employing them, add our markup to it, and bill people on an hourly basis to make it simpler. And then we're a 1099 contractor, so we don't show up on workers' comp. There's no unemployment. We take care of all of that for our clients. So their HR department gets the burden taken off.
Wow, that's big time. Okay. So all in all, right, we have this idea that we can hire remote workers who are really high quality people. Your liability, your workers' comp, your payroll, taxes, all that kind of stuff minimized, right? The cost of living down there is lower, so the cost that they charge is lower, even though they're still living a super comfortable life down there.
Yeah.
The company's benefiting from a big savings and a reduction in a lot of work from an HR perspective. You guys are bringing fantastic people, right, to companies out here who are really well, educated and work hard. And all in all, it's just a super good fit. What are one or two kind of like tips that you could give somebody who's maybe kind of starting out or thinking about hiring a VA a remote worker, right? Or, in comparison, right? Someone is trying to hire a VA and someone is now listening to this and thinking, okay, maybe I will hire somebody, a remote worker from from you. What would be the difference in that in those two types of decisions?
Sure. Well, I mean, I would just say it goes back to the 5-year plan. If you want somebody to do 3 hours a week of low level work and you never want them to grow with a company, honestly, call another firm. That's not what we do. We provide people, 84% of our people are college educated, at least a bachelor's degree. I forget the number off the top of my head, but another good chunk have a master's degree, particularly as it relates to accounting, and they'll grow with the company. So if you hire a bookkeeper today, in 6 months to a year, just like a domestic employee, they will be ready for a staff accountant role if you work with them and help them develop. I would also add, you're already using remote employees. Probably you have employees who want to work from home domestically. They just live a little farther away. And like I said, I'll be heading to Mexico City later this week. It's 20 million people. People tend to think like, oh, it's just rural villages. Our Guadalajara office, I go to this beautiful plaza and I smoke a nice Cuban cigar and I have a great steak, and it is as nice as any place I've been anywhere in the world. So it's not, people really have a wrong impression of what it's like and some of the people that are available. So it's a great career opportunity. Our goal is retention and long-term growth. And so that's why we partner with our companies to do that.
Yeah, interesting. So if you're looking for a long-term solution, Gordian's a good company. If you're looking for someone to just, write a email mailer or something like that and just do a task or create a logo, just go on Fiverr and find somebody.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. And then going back to the tips for the entrepreneur who wants to hire somebody, what are like one or two tips that you would give somebody who's thinking about hiring a VA for the long term or a remote worker for the long term?
Sure. Best piece of advice I can give you is what I do every time I'm thinking about adding somebody to the team. I take a little yellow legal pad and I say, every time I think of something that I wish I had somebody else doing, I'll just write it down. And I'll do that for a week or two. I'll go through my day and I'll say, I wish somebody else could help me with scheduling. I wish I didn't have to type these contracts. I wish I didn't have to pull this data myself. And I'll just make a list. And after a week or two, you can look at it and say, okay, this 80% makes a pretty good job description of admin assistant. Let's start looking at that. Let's sit on it for another week and think, well, if I had an admin assistant, what else could they do? Because too many people, like I said earlier, they start with, I need help, rather than what are they going to be doing?
Right.
But if you start building a job description, and particularly, we get a lot of people that it's like, I want 20% to be social media, and I want 25% to be answering phones, and then 40% is going to be controller. And it's like, that doesn't work, because either they're not going to be a good controller, or if they're a controller, answering phones is beneath them. You need to make that into two positions.
Gotcha.
So making that list will help, because you can't expect to solve all your problems with one person. You have to be honest about, if they're great at customer service, that's different than somebody who's really detail oriented on accounting. And you have to be able to break it down into a logical job description. That's why we have probably 50 sample job descriptions on our website that people can look at and say, oh, I think I want this, and then just add a few tweaks to it. It helps people see what a logical grouping of job duties are.
I really like that tip. So basically, as you're going through your day, we're writing down things we don't really want to do or we want to outsource. As we start getting a bunch of different tasks that are in the same category, we can kind of start to put them together and say, okay, this is a good job description for somebody. That gives clarity for you. That gives clarity for them. That helps you to set them up for success in a way.
Yeah. And then once you have those, start to ask yourself, what will define if they're doing a good job or not? How will this employee know? And how will I know if they're doing a good job? Too many business owners and managers and division leaders, they basically go by how much they get yelled at. And if the client isn't yelling at them or if their boss isn't yelling at them, things are going fine. But it can't be like that. You have to decide if they're going to answer phones. Okay, I want a missed call percent below 5%. I want a customer satisfaction rating of 98%. If it's AP, I want this many transactions done coded in a given day with a 1% error rate. You have to come up with, how do they know that they're doing a good job? Because especially remote, there's all this uncertainty. And if you're like me and you don't communicate particularly well as it relates to feedback and things, people can be very uncertain. So having objective data on this is how they know they're doing a good job, it'll help both you and them decide if stuff is getting done. Because you're not hiring people for 8 hours of their time, you're paying them for what they do with that time.
Right.
So decide, this is what I need. I need this many phone calls. I need this many transactions. I need this much research done in this amount of time.
That's fantastic advice. I want one more.
Okay.
One more tip. What's another tip that someone could do if they're looking to hire somebody long-term? That was fantastic.
I would say it's so simple that people don't really grasp it the first time, is make sure that they're part of the team. So this should go without saying, but it doesn't always. Get them a company email, a company phone extension. A lot of our clients will send down swag ahead of the start date so we can give it to them. Come down and see them. We have numerous clients that will come down to our offices and they'll work with them for a couple of days. Or if they're doing great and they're getting promoted, bring them up to the US or Canada, wherever you're at, and have them work there. Just go all in. It's cliche, but you get out of it what you put into it. And if you treat them like second-class citizens, that's what you're going to get out of them. But if you look at them as, hey, you got the potential to do something great, all of these companies, in a lot of them, the senior person is based in Mexico. They can be division presidents. They can be team leads. They can do amazing stuff for you. It's not just entry-level work. These are some amazing, intelligent people.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So treat them like they're part of the team, get them involved, meet them. That's a great piece of advice. Awesome. All right, Rob, we're coming up on our time here, but I wanted to just kind of quickly get you into the lightning round. So
okay,
ready? Hope you're ready.
Okay.
All right. So what is your favorite book?
Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett.
Okay. What's your favorite leadership quote?
Make it better. People will demand you make it bigger. S. Truett Cathy.
Make it better. People will demand you make it bigger.
Yep.
Nice. Okay. And what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Hang on to business cards. Life is short. You'd be amazed how many people you'll need 10 years down the road. So never burn a bridge. Keep the door open.
Sure. Awesome. Okay. Where can people find you?
Best way is LinkedIn. I have a great team handling the content and messages on there. You're welcome to check out our website, slicingthegordianknot.com. But we're always happy to chat, and just as a business owner, as a leader in a company, whatever it is you're focusing on, it's kind of a tough time. We take a lot of abuse, which I don't think we always earn. I think some people earn it, but I think overall the feeling is not too favorable for us right now. But the truth is, we do our best to help people. Most of us, we do our best to do things honorably and do it right. And it's a difficult time. So if anybody ever just wants to, pick my brain, talk about what's going on, I'm always happy to sit down with people and see how we can be a help.
Awesome. And you guys can find Rob at LinkedIn, Rob Buffington. What's your handle?
I don't. Let me look it up because I
look up
honestly
Rob
don't even
Buffington
know.
on LinkedIn, or the website. We can go to your website, which is Gordian. Help me out here, Gordian.
GordianStaffing.com is the main one. It
Gordian
turns out it's
Staffing.
just LinkedIn / Rob Buffington is my handle there.
Rob Buffington on LinkedIn or GordianStaffing.com.
Yes.
Awesome. Cool. And we didn't really get into it, but if you guys are interested at all in learning about the Deferred Sales Trust, come to our mastermind every Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. For those of you who don't know, you can sell a highly appreciated asset, you can defer the tax, and you can reinvest the proceeds. These include businesses, stock, commercial real estate, primary homes, racehorses, art, whatever, anything that's highly appreciated. Bitcoin, it's moving up. Might be a good time to get some Bitcoin, and who knows, maybe it'll go to $1 million. And come check out the Deferred Sales Trust Mastermind if you want more about that, or go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. Rob, thank you so much for coming on, man. Really appreciate it. Any parting words?
Hang in there. It's an interesting time, but a time of great opportunity. So this is when fortunes are made and lost.
Yep, absolutely. Awesome. All right. Thank you again for coming on. And thank you again for listening to another episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast. As always, not having a clear plan is the enemy. Using a proven tax deferral strategy such as the Deferred Sales Trust, best way to exit highly appreciated assets, tax deferred, so you create, preserve, and grow your wealth. Please hit the like button, subscribe button, notification bell, share it, comment. What else? Anything else on the interwebs am I missing? I don't know. Do all that stuff. Thank you guys. Helps us out.